Hey ladies, it is Nancy here. So I thought it would be helpful if I did a little video about using progesterone in oil, or PO as some of us like to call it. Um, and it is one of the medications that is used to help maintain pregnancy, specifically while undergoing IVF treatment during a fresh transfer or a frozen transfer. So this is something that your reproductive endocrinologist will give to you to help you maintain the pregnancy, just like it would happen naturally. So there's a lot of scariness around progesterone and oil, and everyone talks about the dreaded progesterone shots at night and the needles an inch and a half long, and it just seems very daunting at first. But once you know a couple of tricks, it definitely gets easier. So I'll give you my best tips today. And I've been through this a number of times. So one of the things to know about progesterone and oil is that it comes in many different types of oil. There is sesame oil, there's olive oil, just to name two of those. Um, and those tend to be very, very thick. So the thicker it is, the harder it is to get into the muscle. And it is intramuscular, so it does need to get into the muscle. That's why the needle is so long. So those tend to be very thick, and you can oftentimes get a reaction from it. So that's something that you need to be wary of. If you're getting big, large welts or that they become itchy, you know that you're having a reaction to that oil. Another option for progesterone in oil, type of oil, which is considered to be not hypoallergenic, but with the least amount of side effects, is ethyl oleate. And that's something that may need to be made for you, and that's exactly what I use. I use progesterone in ethyl oleate. It's a very thin oil, which is a blessing when it comes to this. So I have it specially made for me at a compounding pharmacy. My doctor prescribes it, and that pharmacy makes it for me. So that's the one that I choose to use after I had a really bad reaction to the Westward brand, which I believe was in sesame oil. That did not go well. So the major thing about progesterone oil, before you use it, is to warm it for at least 15 minutes, good 10, 15 minutes. And warming it thins it out. And that's what you want, because it's going to go into your muscle tissue easier. So once you fill up your syringe, which I'm not going to do here because I'm not using my shot yet, but you fill up your syringe, put the cap back on it, and then I literally take it and I stick it under my arm like this for 15 minutes while I'm sitting on the couch and watching TV or whatever. So that's pretty much, I found the warmest place, the warmest spot for it to really start getting to your own temperature and thinning it out so that it comes out of the needle easier. I'm sure you could put it under your leg, under your knee, but I just put it under my armpit, and that's what works for me. You do not want to put this in hot water because that can affect the medication. So just putting it like that for 15 minutes before you take it is definitely a big help. So that's going to warm it up. Now, a lot of times people want to take an ice compress to their bottom and to avoid the pain, which is really not that bad. It's just a tiny pinch. I think it's more what we do in our minds that gets us nervous about it. But you have to know that when you are icing the skin, you're cooling the tissue down. So number one, you're making the skin harder to puncture. The skin definitely gets harder to get the needle through, so you may have a little bit more resistance, which can be uncomfortable, and you might have to use it and press harder with the needle to get it in, or have your husband or partner put it in. So the ice can cause it to kind of be a little bit more difficult. Also, it's going to cool the oil quickly, which can cause a lump. So for me, I think putting in a little, if you really want to put something on there, I would put maybe a little bit of heat or nothing at all, so that your oil that's been warmed up goes in much easier. So that's a couple of tips there. Another tip is that depending on how much padding you have on your bottom, you can you could ask your nurse to give you a 1-inch needle instead of the 1.5-inch needle. And that should still get into the muscle tissue. You can ask them if they think that's appropriate for you. Every little 1/2 inch less of needle is always a good thing, so that's an option for you. Most of them come with a 22 gauge or 21 gauge needle. The lower the gauge size, the bigger the needle is. So 21, 22 isn't that bad. But what's cool is that sometimes, especially with the ethyl oleate, you can use actually an even thinner needle, which is awesome. So I actually use a 25 gauge needle, which is really nice and thin. It is still 1.5. This one's 1.5 inches. So that's what I use for my progesterone, and I find it works really well. The most important thing is to just warm that needle, warm up the medication so that it goes in easier. Afterwards, you could always put a hot compress on it to help it a little bit and put a little Band-Aid to prevent any oil from coming back out. It's best to do it lying down. You don't want to do it standing up, because if you're standing up, you could be tensing that muscle tissue. So you want to have a nice relaxed bottom so that you're not having any resistance. So definitely do it while laying down. Have your husband or partner do that for you. So those are some of my tips for taking the progesterone in oil. If you have any questions, please let me know, okay? I hope you enjoyed the video, and I hope you have a great day. Bye.